Hey everyone, it's Norm Farrar, aka the Beard Guy here, and welcome to another Lunch with Norm, the Amazon FBA and e-commerce podcast.
Lunch with Norm. Lunch with Norm. Lunch with
Okay, so I think I mentioned this on our last podcast. It's going to be a fun show for me. Everybody knows how anal I am when it comes to SOPs and automation. So we are going to be talking about how to organize your e-com team and create modern process management, otherwise known as SOPs. So our guest is a co-founder and CEO of Process Street or Process.st, and he's designed and helped tons of businesses automate and streamline their operations. He's also been helpful with Salesforce, AirBnB, Yale, Gap, a couple of, those small companies, and thousands of others just like you. So today, our guest is Vinay, and I hope I'm saying this, Vinay Patankar. Okay, we never had a chance to discuss it before we got on the podcast, but anyways, if I pronounce it wrong, I apologize in advance. But before we do this, I just wanted to give a big shout out to our sponsor, Sellerize. Sellerize is your comprehensive solution for your everyday business needs. It's everything you need to grow and scale your Amazon business or any e-com business, but Amazon business specifically in just one click. For more information, please contact Dima and his team over at Sellerize.com. And as I've mentioned before, Sellerize is just spelt with one R, not two. Okay, where's the boy wonder?
Hello. Happy Monday.
Hey, this is our 206th late podcast.
I know, we're on a record here.
We are. One day we're going to go at noon. I don't know when that's going to be, but one of these days.
One day it will happen.
Maybe that's, that's our MO,
I think that's a goal for 2022.
What, to be on time? Is that something I can blame on you?
Yeah, I mean, you can try, I'm sure. Yeah, might as well. But anyways, welcome everyone to the show. Welcome Jessica Rabbit, Andy, Manny, Rads, Sarfraz, Simon. We got another Facebook user. It's great to see everyone. Give us those thumbs up to get the show rolling. Smash those like buttons and share out the episode to all your Amazon and e-commerce buddies out there. Best way to share. Yeah, you fool us all. Be early one of these days. Yeah, we'll change things up.
Cheeky Simon, as he's known in the UK.
But anyways, if you're new to the show, we go live every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 12 p.m. Eastern time. You can join our Facebook group, Lunch with Norm, Amazon e-commerce, or Amazon FBA and e-commerce collective. That's the best way to be a part of the Beard Nation and join in on the community and sharing in some awesome memes, ask questions, look for advice. All can happen in the group. So anyways, you're going to an event soon, right? Is that in November?
Yeah, and actually, I thought you were going to forget about this. So I had it here on my desktop on a sticky. Remind Kelsey.
Good.
But anyways, if you are planning going down to the Amazon Powwow in Miami, I think that's on the 2nd, let us know. We have a ticket. It's a free ticket. So if you are going down to Miami, let me know. Tim's going to be there as well. There's going to be a bunch of really great Amazon speakers. I think Brian Johnson's going to be there. There's a bunch. Anyways, we have a free ticket that we like to give away, but just let us know. You could either put it in the group that you're going to be there or message us in the group, and that'll be great. Also, today, I'm going to be in the event's already started. We're just late. But we have an incredible event that's going on held by Josh Marsden. So Josh has been on here a few times. He is a phenomenal 9-figure seller, as you guys know. And he has an event called Holiday Ecom Growth Hackers, and been on his summit before. It's incredible. He's got a lineup of people that you've heard of some, you haven't heard of others. And that's what I like about his summit is he mixes it up, but they're all very good at what they do. In fact, Bradley Long's on there. So he's going to be talking about TikTok, but he is that Shopify guru that he's been on. He's been also at our live event in Costa Rica. He's an awesome guy. So we have that information. You'll post the link a bit later on, and it's free. So don't have to worry about anything. It's free. You'll just get a ton of knowledge out of it. So I think this is the longest intro we've ever done.
I think so. So let's jump right into it and get it started.
Okay, so there we go.
All right.
We haven't even got to the Wheel of Kelsey.
We'll discuss that during the show.
All right, thank you, Kels. All right, so let's get to it. If you have any questions or comments, throw it over in the right-hand column and sit back, relax, and we'll enjoy this show. Welcome, Vinay. Oh, you're on mute.
Rookie mistake there.
Yeah, there we go. How's it going?
What's up, Norm? Great to see you. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, I see you're wearing a shirt. Process Street. What is that?
I am. Always branded.
Gotta go. Okay, let me know. Am I pronouncing your name properly?
Yeah, you did well. Vinay, that's pretty straightforward. Patankar is how I pronounce it, but I don't even think that's like the actual traditional way of pronouncing it. So
all right, so we'll just stick at that. So, okay, I got a thumbs up on that, so that's good. Look, I reached out to you because I saw an event that you were at. I've used your product before. I loved your product
awesome.
before. I've talked about your app, but I saw that you were talking. I thought, well, this would be great. I'm an SOP guy. I graduated through the E-Myth Academy. And I always talking about systems and automation and how we even have a system, a standard operating procedure, 5-page system and operating procedure about how to make a cup of coffee in the office.
Nice.
So
I actually did a podcast episode a couple of years ago with Michael Gerber. So that's on our blog somewhere if you want to search for that. But that was a cool episode. Yeah, big E-Myth fans.
Yeah, I was back in 95, I think, way back. But yeah, nothing digital. They used to send out their course modules. It's all paper, and I still got them. You have to go through, write it all out.
Yeah.
But anyways, I think this is important, and anybody that's listening, we talk about this a ton about getting your VAs, taking tasks that are repeated, and get them to hop on and start creating. I call them policies and procedures, but standard operating procedures, SOPs. And we're going to go through that today. So if you know of anybody, any friends, any family that's involved with e-com, business in general, Amazon, get them to tune in. This is going to be an important podcast. I don't say that usually, but I think it's going to be really important, and I can't wait to talk. So let's talk a bit about you.
Yeah.
Who are you? What do you do?
Well, actually, it's funny because I can kind of tell you the full story, or I can tell you a little bit of a condensed one. But the funny thing is that like the very first business that I started was an e-commerce business. So I'm from Australia originally, live in the US now, San Diego, San Francisco, between there. And I kind of had a pretty traditional like kind of childhood, normal school, parents very into education and very traditional kind of upbringing. My dad's Indian and very kind of like traditional that way, saying go to get an education and go work for a big company and get stability and whatnot. So it was kind of up until then, I was following a pretty normal track. And then when I was like 23, a couple of things happened. So firstly, I decided like I was going to go traveling and backpacking. That was like the first decision that happened. And I did that because I got a little taste of it. Maybe you've met Australians backpacking around. It's a pretty common thing to do. Lots of my friends had done it. And so I'd made that decision. I'd saved up some good money. I was working in a good, corporate job and making some good money at a university. And I decided, okay, look, I'm just going to go travel for basically until my money runs out, maybe 6 months, maybe 12 months. And see how that goes. I'm going to do it now because I know I'm, at the age where I can't really replicate this experience when I'm older. And I think that was actually a very important first little like insight that I figured out somehow. I don't know where I picked that up, but I was like, yeah, it's not going to be the same if I want to go traveling when I'm retired or whatever. So I'm going to do it now. And then while I was like gearing up to do that trip, I started like packing up my apartment and getting rid of all my stuff and quitting my job. I read the 4 Hour Work Week, and that was 2009. And so I through that book, he's like, oh yeah, you can run an e-commerce store and travel and make similar 6-figure salary that you're making in the corporate world. And I'm like, well, I'm taking this time off already. Why don't I give that a shot? And I literally just copied the playbook in the book. That was the first thing I did. I found a non-perishable, easy to ship product that wasn't well distributed in Australia. I convinced this company in the UK to give me distribution rights. It was actually a women's nail product. That was like the first day. I think the website's still up. It's called Metallic Nails. I don't know if it is, metallicnails.com.au. And built that on Shopify. I was like V1 Shopify 2009, like back in the day. And yeah, that was like kind of how I got my start really in business. And that was my first kind of like internet company that taught me a lot of internet marketing chops. I flipped it in a couple of years and kind of went on to start multiple other, internet companies after that. That was really my entrance into everything. So I have a lot of empathy for people in e-commerce, running Shopify stores and Amazon businesses. And obviously we have a lot of customers that are in that space as well. So
Right. So when did the whole SOP or systems kind of hit you? When did you, okay, I gotta get this in place? Did you get into a hyper growth company, or what ended up happening?
Yeah. Well, so I started learning about systems and stuff from Tim Ferriss. That was like the beginning, because he kind of talks a little bit about that in the book. And one of the things that I had like optimized for was I wanted to be like location independent, right? I wanted to be able to continue travel and have flexibility. And so that started to niche down what I wanted to do and also create kind of frameworks for what I wanted to do. So I had to have a more digital kind of product or with good fulfillment or something. I didn't want to be in a physical business, that tied me to a location. And being able to kind of run the business, keep it stable while you're traveling around, and also just scale it in an efficient way. I started, hiring VAs and using Upwork and different products like that. And then that kind of got me starting to build some processes and figure out how to train the VAs and offload and delegate some tasks. So that was like the early days of me learning about, systems and processes. I also had like experience of it in kind of the corporate world. I actually used to be a recruiter in Sydney. I used to recruit engineers for the investment banks in Sydney. So Deutsche Bank, UBS, JP Morgan, things like that. And they have crazy amounts of systems, both like written procedures as well as technology deployed to build crazy workflows and processes and systems. And they're constantly building. And I was like hiring for a lot of the technical roles in that space to help them build these processes and systems. So I got kind of exposure to it in the early days. When I really started feeling the personal pain, though, was when I was running a marketing company. We were doing lead gen for consumer finance. So the business was basically running a whole portfolio of websites, doing credit card comparisons, insurance like lead gen, mortgage lead gen, running a kind of like NerdWallet, but spread across like many websites instead of just like a single kind of site. And that was starting to scale. We're running all these properties. We had lots of like advertising campaigns running, launching 20, 30 different experiments a day. And I was handling a lot of that work. I was trying to outsource it to VAs and trying to build a team. And that is when it started to break. I was like, okay, how do I kind of go from 10 to 20 people? How do I make all these people kind of work properly and deliver the work that I want without me needing to kind of micromanage and track and audit and fix and change and tweak and continue to do that every day whenever like there's work being pushed out. And so it was, and then that ended up like leading to me being up late at night, dealing with my virtual assistant teams in the Philippines, trying to make sure that they were doing everything right, because I'd wake up in the morning, a bunch of stuff broken, they'd all have gone to bed by then. I'm like, oh no, what am I going to do? So I started staying up late at night, trying to make sure that they were like delivering work in the way that they wanted. And it kind of came down to like, okay, we need better processes for this, So then started to try to build processes using Docs and Google Sheets and Asana, and like all that stuff kept breaking. And that was when I started looking for a workflow product that allowed me to actually kind of build workflows that would keep people on the rails, not give them flexibility to be able to go in and change the structure or process that I'd designed. And that was kind of the original kernel for Process Street.
Very good. So, Kelsey, um, I think we're probably going to get a lot of questions about this today. So, can you just kind of keep an eye out for how many questions we have in that we have enough time to answer them? I I think we'll get a lot of questions. So, Ed, leading on that point, if you do have questions or comments, let us know. I know that a ton of people ask us about how to create operating systems and what to do, and we're going to be covering a lot of this today. But it's so important if you really want to scale your business, if you want to create a turnkey operation for these aggregators or for these people that are buying up Amazon businesses left, right, and center. You want to make it simple for them. And this is just one thing that makes you look so much better than the next guy who provides receipts in a shoebox. You know, who are they going to take? Somebody that has SOPs and is organized, or somebody that has receipts in a shoebox, if it's apples to apples. So anyway, we're going to get into this right now. I just think that I really want to see a bunch of questions in here because I know there's so many Amazon sellers that are not doing this.
Yeah,
Let's start
and
off with
also,
yeah, go ahead.
oh, and I just want to jump in, and maybe you don't even have a question per se, but just share with us maybe a struggle that you're having with
Oh
your
God, yeah, or
e-commerce
some
team.
issues that you're doing with some problems that you have with SOPs right now.
Yeah, so put them over in the comment section. Also, just to remind you, Norm, the giveaway today, we can jump into that as well.
Kelsey, you annoy me. Okay, what's our giveaway today? Yeah, sometimes I just do that to Kelsey. You know, not that I'm doing that to you, but you know, Kelsey just gets on my nerves sometimes.
Swipe him off the screen.
No, I never, he never gets on my nerves. But anyways, why don't we talk about the quick giveaway and it's awesome. So if we want to do that, and then we'll tell you how to claim it.
Yeah, awesome. So, and we can talk about what Process Street is maybe a little bit later.
Yeah, that's going to be towards the end. We'll nail that.
What they're getting, but yeah, I know that you give away something to your audience on every show, so we wanted to kind of come with something that we thought would be exciting. So as part of me coming on the show, we're giving away a free process/workflow consultation. We have a workflow consulting team here at Process Street that helps our customers design and build out workflows and automations for their business. So you'll get a free 1-hour consultation with them, as well as an extended trial on our platform, Process Street. Normally it's a 14-day trial, so we'll give you 60 days so you can play with the product, speak to one of our consultants and see if it's a good fit.
That's fantastic. So not only are you going to hear about this today, but if you're interested in that free consult with the extended 60-day, hashtag Wheel of Kelsey. If you want a second entry, just tag us with 2 people. Okay, so let's get into this. The processes or SOPs, where do you even start? When do you start to put together an SOP?
Well, generally it's when you're starting to grow, to give you a very short answer. So the nature of processes and SOPs, there are a few more examples, but the nature of processes and SOPs, like as a concept, let's forget about technology or whatever, you started learning about this stuff when everything was not very digital even.
Okay, I don't have to say it, but I'm an old guy.
Well, you mentioned it before, but like the nature of processes and what they do is generally you're like taking some type of institutional knowledge. So you're taking some knowledge that exists inside the business that you've decided is like valuable knowledge because you've maybe figured out the right way to do something, something works, something it needs to be compliant or whatever. There's some type of institutional knowledge that's been created in the business, usually by normally somebody more senior, but not always. You're trying to encode that institutional knowledge, write it down, put it into technology somewhere so that other people can then like execute off that institutional knowledge without them needing to come to you, ask you questions, and also hopefully helping train them and minimize the mistakes they make and make the kind of entire business run smoother. So the idea of a process is generally like someone has institutional knowledge and they're trying to like hand off or scale that institutional knowledge out to other people. There isn't so much value in writing down a process if you're just a one-person business where you don't really have anybody else to consume that process and hand it off to. Now, that is not the rule. There are exceptions to that rule. You might be a one-person business, but you might have a very complicated process or task that you have to do, and maybe you just want to make sure that you do it correctly yourself. So you want to document it to make sure that you don't make mistakes when you do it. Maybe it's costly, maybe there's legal risks. The other thing, as you mentioned as well, is that if you're trying to sell your business at some point in the future, and you're a one-person business, it's very difficult to sell something if all the institutional knowledge is in your head, and you can give that to somebody else and they'd have no idea how anything worked or how they were supposed to actually operate the business. So there are some scenarios where even if you are a one-person business, you may want to document it, but you generally find processes add more value as a team grows because there's more people to learn from that knowledge, adopt it, and then execute it.
You touched on something I wasn't even thinking of, but it's absolutely essential. How many times have you spent 5 minutes, 10 minutes, a half hour trying to figure out a process that you did before? I mean, for Amazon people, it could be setting up a promo code, or it could be the right format to write a blog or something that you hear. Well, the easiest way to do it is, for me anyways, is either to trap it on video or to record it. That's the easiest thing to do. And then you can go back for reference. But most of the time, like I'll even do it, I'll forget. And then it's like, what the? And then I'm spending and wasting my time. And if you add up all that time at the end of the year, it adds up to days of what you've wasted. And there's other things too. Like one of the things I like to, and I've talked about this a few times, but it's Michael Gerber. He talks about the sales or the entrepreneurial roller coaster, where the reason for writing standard operating procedures or processes is because you're an entrepreneur. You're passionate about what you're doing. You start to sell, things start to take off. Now you're working, a half hour before you get up, a half hour before you go to bed, one of those scenarios. And you just can't get everything done in a day. So you hire a VA. You tell the VA to do whatever. You don't train them properly. There's nothing for them to, use as reference, and they do a terrible job. You get mad at them. You give them a second chance.
That's exactly what happened to me. That's why
Is that what happened to you?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I fell into that too. So I just didn't do it right because I didn't have the time to do it and I didn't understand it. So all of a sudden you fire the person because they can't do it better than you. You get in that sales roller coaster again, your sales dive, you start to build up, you hire somebody else, and you fire them because they can't do their job. Well, what we're going to show you today is take time, get one bloody thing done. Like if you're doing it manually, when you have and we'll get into Process Street at the end, but when you have an automated system, it's a no-brainer. But do it manually for you.
Definitely.
Just get it done and understand the process. But if you don't do it, man, it's going to take its toll on you. Yeah. So one of the things maybe we could touch on is we have hundreds of different repetitive tasks throughout the day or throughout the year, throughout whatever. Where do you focus? Is there a type of task that you would focus on?
Yeah. There's no answer to that business. It's like, to that question, it's like, how do I grow my business? There's not an exact answer to that question. It depends on the current state of your business and what resources you have available to you and where the kind of gaps are in your business right now. But there's a couple of places that I ask people to look if they're trying to figure things out. So this is the process question, but I actually think this is a pretty important, just like entrepreneurial question as well, which is like if you're trying to start a business. In general, the advice that I give to people if you're trying to start a business or a new venture, the most important thing is focusing on bringing money in the door, right? Like as an entrepreneur, people might get like caught up on, I'm going to do my logo. I'm going to do this. I'm going to like research product. I'm going to like set up my corporation. There's a million things that you can do that are like not building product and selling, right? And depending on your business, maybe that's direct selling or maybe that's marketing selling, right? Like depending on what type of product you're selling. But I always say that like the most important thing in business is like bringing in the money. So whether that's getting new customers, whether that's getting money from investors, like whatever that is, like once you bring money in, you can solve a lot of your other back-end problems, right? You can pay a designer to do your logo. You can hire an engineer to build your website. You can do a lot of things once you have cash flow coming in. But if you don't have that cash flow coming in at the beginning, your business there's nothing, right? You don't have a business. A business is based on cash flow like coming in, right? And so I think in general, as an entrepreneur, I think there's lots of things that can distract you from like the priority task, which is finding customers and bringing in revenue. And I think that's a similar strategy when you're thinking about your processes too. Generally, I say like, think about the processes closest to the money, right? As like, those are the things, because those are the most important processes in your business, because without bringing in money, your business is nothing. I tend to say that's a good place to focus on first, because if you can solve that, and if you can really make your growth engine, your revenue engine, streamlined and efficient, and make it grow and scale, a lot of your other problems become a lot easier. You can hire 2 people instead of hire 1 person, and they can both be not that good, but because you have 2 people, you're kind of like handling the gaps like this. And there's 1,000 things. You can invest in technology. You can do so many things that you can't do if you don't have that money coming in. So things related to whatever brings in the money for your business. So in Amazon, I would be looking at things relating to like product listings. So how do I get products up on the store? How do I, optimize those products? How do I change out those products? So kind of like, maybe like fulfillment. How do I like deliver that product to a customer? So kind of like core like product for like, listing and delivery, fulfillment. And then the other one is marketing. So like, how am I actually then driving traffic to these listings? Like those, if you figure out those 2 pieces of your Amazon business, a lot of the other stuff is pretty easy, right? Like, or maybe it's not easy, but like it's easier than like trying to build other things without kind of getting sales on the front end. So I would say focus there, and then start to think of, so then once you've got like a consistent, reliable revenue engine in your business, then you can start to think about then you probably want to think about one of 2 options, depending on what your goals are. One, if your goal is growth, you want to think about like, okay, how can I grow more? And that's normally comes down to hiring. So then you start thinking about how can I put processes in place for building out a team, hiring that team, managing that team, making that team efficient, so that team could continue to scale out our revenue engines. The other place to look might be like kind of what like strategic coach and things like that call like your zone of genius, which is there may be tasks that you're really good at, that you find flow from, that you really enjoy doing, that you excel at. And there may be tasks that drain your energy, that you find are difficult, that you have to like, use willpower to power through and get them done. And that can be maybe those are the tasks that are keeping you up at night or on the weekend and affecting you from being, present with your family and things like that. And so that can be another really good place to look. Like, what are the kind of tasks that are outside of your area of genius that really drain your energy, that you don't like doing, but are still required to move your business forward? That can be another good area to kind of look at. Not so much because it's necessarily going to get you the most growth as fast as possible, but probably it's going to get you the most like lifestyle return as fast as possible. So,
yeah, that's a great answer. And there's so many things in Amazon. Like if you take a look at your day-to-day, answering messages, getting back to feedback, setting up simple, like they have something called brand analytics now in a brands column, if you're not familiar with Amazon, and you can create an email sequence, or not an email sequence, but you can send an email on an offer that you're offering out people. This is very easy, but it's something that you don't necessarily do if you're not using an app, requesting a review. These are all simple things, but you also talked about something that a lot of people don't think about, and that's off Amazon. So what's your social media policies look like?
Yeah.
Do you have a social media content calendar? How can you build that out? Yeah. And these are all these areas.
Blogging is a good example, like you said. Yeah, blogging or doing YouTube videos or things like that. Like content creation is a big one. Like if you're also running a Shopify store, then there's all of that, right? Like there's the Shopify store, there's all the blogging, there's maybe Facebook ads and like Google Ads and all these other things that you're kind of running outside of the Amazon world too, that connect into your store.
One of the things that we do, you can't be an expert in everything. And, you know, you fake it if you say you are. Like if you say you're an expert in everything, okay, fine. But it's not going to happen. So let's say Google ads or Facebook ads. One of the things that we like to do in our team is people work on their strengths. Like you said, why work on your weaknesses? It just causes stress. But if you work on the strengths, if you provide additional training so that the person becomes an expert and they love what they're doing, then great. But you also train them on how to write an SOP. So you're not doing it. You're not telling somebody how to do something that you're not good at.
Yeah, it's funny because, like, you know, obviously we make process management software, but making processes is not actually my favorite thing to do. I like the results of having processes in place because that helps me scale and lets me focus on my area of genius. But my area of genius is actually not writing processes. I do have an area of genius around like automating stuff, which is a little bit different. So there is kind of like systems building is one of my zones of genius, but documentation is not. And so I still have people on my team help me with that stuff as well.
I suck at like Zapier and stuff like that.
I'm better at Zapier than I am at just like documentation, I'd say. Yeah.
Are you?
Yeah.
Oh, we got to get together.
Like
okay. So
programmer
yeah,
like
I absolutely, no. And you know what? So I talk about all this SOPs and, you know, doing all this and automation. And yet, even in our company, I know that there's ways that we can streamline even better, and we're pretty efficient, but it's not going because I have the stumbling block on those automate, like with Zapier. I've got to find somebody that can come into the company and say, I'm going to take the control of this and I'm going to, you know, create the automation process for all these different systems that are going to make it even that much better.
Well, that's why we created our process consulting team at Process Street. You know, that's the giveaway we're doing is like basically exactly customers like you that said, I know there's more we can be doing, but my mind just doesn't like work well with Zapier or with some of these automations or whatever. And so we have a team that can basically do that stuff for people. We also have some partners as well that we work with, but yeah, it depends on how much work there is in the business, whether you want to bring somebody in full time to handle it all, or whether you just want to kind of outsource it for a few hours here or there. Like internally at our, you know, we have a whole, what we call RevOps team. And they're all process like automation specialists. So we have like a whole team of people that are just like automating our Salesforce and, you know, emails and Zaps and like everything that's going on.
So if I'm hearing you correctly, I should enter into the wheel of Kelsey and Kelsey tag two people and we'll have a chance.
Yeah, if you're lucky, you might win.
All right, there we go. All right, so let's talk about what things can people do very generically, but what can you do to prepare to get your SOPs or your automation, whatever you like, to get it going? Are there like a few steps that people should be looking at?
Yeah. So what we recommend is, well, I guess firstly, to a lot of people, processes can seem a little bit intimidating. People can maybe get a little bit overwhelmed by the prospect of having to think about everything that they've been doing in the business for the last, you know, year and try to document all that. Seems like a very big project. It can create a lot of anxiety, especially when you're already working on the weekends and you're a small business owner and everything's on fire and, you know, you already don't spend enough time with your family and you're like, shit, am I going to like not, you know, miss 3 more like dance recitals to write this process document? It can be, you know, it can be very difficult and kind of intimidating thing for small businesses. You know, once you're a large enterprise, you can start to like dedicate resources. Like I said, we have a whole team that's like kind of like our process team. But when you're a small business, you don't have those resources. And so we see that be the reason that a lot of businesses don't get going with processes. The number one reason why people don't get going with their processes is I don't have enough time, right? Like that's the number one reason. And so what we try to do is we try to give our customers a framework to be able to get going on their processes without having to invest a lot of time. That's the big thing. If you can do it quickly without investing a lot of time, then you're able to kind of start to quickly iterate on them get some value out of them, see that value, and start to kind of invest into it more and more. So we recommend that people start with what we call a minimum viable process. Maybe you've heard of like a minimum viable product. It comes from like product development in startups. We call it a minimum viable process, which is just like the minimum thing that you can do to get something written down and documented. And so there's a couple of approaches to this. The other thing that we recommend is when you're doing your minimum viable process, do it in a way that doesn't require you to add additional blocks to your calendar for any reason, right? You don't want to have a block in your calendar that says like, oh, this is 2 hours of process documentation. Because if you ask somebody to do that, and they're a small business owner that's already working on the weekends, they're not going to have a 2-hour block that's in their calendar. So that means that, oh, I can't actually do this because I'm not going to find the time. So we try to get people to do it in a way where it essentially doesn't take more time. So there's a couple of strategies for this. One is the strategy that you brought up, which I love, we use all the time here, is like, say you're doing something, just record it, go get a free Loom account, use QuickTime on your computer, and just say, oh, I'm going to add a new product to my Amazon store today. Just before you start that, hit record and just add the product to your Amazon store and then hit stop. And that actually didn't take you any additional time. And then take that video, maybe it takes you a few minutes to just name it and upload it somewhere, less if you're using something like Loom or whatever. And now you've got like an MVP of that process. The issue that I have with video, and we still use video heavily because when you're doing complicated things, it can be the best way to kind of explain something. But the issue that I have with video is that it can take a while to consume it. If you have like recorded a 30-minute video of you doing a product listing, then the next time you want to go do that product listing, there's no real way to actually like extract the information from that video without consuming the video itself. Yeah, you can fast forward through it and you can jump through a few bits and pieces here, but it's still a little bit of a longer kind of consumption process. So the other way that we recommend people kind of get started with an MVP is just by doing a task list, right? So say you're going and you're doing listing a product on Amazon, pull up a document, and then as you're going through listing the product, just list down the steps of what you're doing. Getting product image from this folder, maybe chuck in a link to the folder that you're already in when you're getting the image. Going to this page on Amazon, chuck in a link to that page. Using this tag, using this thing, and then just like quickly, just like try to, as you're doing the task, just quickly on the right, just like shoot down like 10 or 20 steps. Each step that you're writing should just be a single sentence, maybe with a link, not even a sentence, just a few words, reminder with a link, basically. And it shouldn't take you more than a few seconds to write each of those steps, no more than 5 or 10 minutes to write the kind of list of 10 or 20 steps. You have it up while you're going through the task, so you're not trying to think about, oh, what is that step that I'm doing? And don't worry, it doesn't need to be perfect. You don't need to build it out. It doesn't matter if you miss steps. Just kind of like do it in a way that's not costing you time. So ideally, say the task was going to take you 30 minutes. Maybe it took you 33 minutes, maybe it took you 35 minutes, but you also got this MVP list of process document done in that same 35-minute period. So it's not really it's a strategy to be able to get some documentation done without needing to add additional slots to your calendar, right? So now you've got your MVP done. That's just like the first kind of 10 or 20 tasks or steps in the process. Next time you go to do the process, pull up that document again. And then as you're going through it, just check oh, is this correct? Is this correct? Yes, I missed this extra step. Oh, there's this additional link in here. And then just throw in an additional step. So now as you're going back and you're doing the task itself, you're kind of just referencing the document, making sure that it looks accurate, making sure that it has the context it needs. Maybe you can take a screenshot this time and chuck in a couple of screenshots into your document and kind of build out that document. So you're kind of adding an extra 3 or 5 minutes of work to your process or to that task as you do it. After you do that 3, 4, 5 times, you're going to end up with a pretty robust process document, procedure document for that particular task. Then you can now take that task, that document, hand it off to, say, a VA, and then have them do it a couple of times. And then as they come back and you look at their work that they've done, you will say, oh, they missed this. Let me add that to the process. Oh, they were confused about that. Let me clear that up on the process. And then now you've kind of done it 5 times. If you've done the task yourself, you've handed it off to a VA. Maybe you've had to do a couple of training sessions and tighten up the document a couple of times. Now that document should be good. That VA should continue to be able to do it afterwards. And any new VA that comes in the future should be able to execute that process. And it hasn't really taken too much additional time off your calendar. The biggest is probably the moment where you hand off that document to somebody else and you're just kind of making sure that gets done the first few times. But that's going to happen anyway whenever you're hiring or training anybody new to do any type of new task. So I really like this MVP approach because it removes the objection, I don't have time. And that is the one objection people have.
Yeah. And if people do just one process a week, just one, 52 SOPs at the end of the year.
Yeah. And I don't even I mean, that's a lot. That's heaps, right? Like if you can hand off 50 tasks by the end of so to me, I wouldn't be building documentation just for documentation's sake, right? Like I wouldn't be building documentation because just in case maybe I'm going to need this documentation in the future, I'd probably say investing that time into growth is generally a better use of time. I build documentation like when I need it. So there's this programming term YAGNI. It's like you ain't going to need it yet or something. And so I kind of like take that approach. So once I feel like the pain for whatever reason that we talked about before, because I'm trying to grow, because I'm trying to, get back time to improve my lifestyle so I can focus on something else. And with that, I'm thinking about hiring, full-time, part-time, agency, whatever, to start to scale that. That's when I'm like, okay, I'm going to want to hire someone in the next month, 2 months I'm going to want to start offloading some of this. As I'm gearing up to start offloading it, I'm now creating my process documentation as I'm doing that week 1, week 2, week 3. And then on week 4, I then hand that off, do some training. And then once the whole task is no longer a task under my responsibility, I've now opened up new time in my calendar. I'll then start to look at the next process I want to offload. Because I don't want to just be like doing work without like gaining back time myself.
Right. It looks like we're going to run late today. Do you have time to go past 1 o'clock?
I actually have another call at 1, but I could do a couple minutes over. Yeah.
All right. So we'll start answering the questions. Just a reminder that hashtag Kelsey or tag 2 people to enter and you could have a chance to win an extended trial period from 14 to 60 days or a 1-hour consult with Vinay's team. Okay. So let's get to the questions then, Kelsey. I do have a ton of others. Are you able to come back another day?
Me? Yeah,
totally. That would be awesome because there's so many questions that I have here. But okay, let's start with some of the questions.
Yeah, and I think for the Wheel of Kelsey, we'll do the questions. We'll just jump into the questions, and then Vinay, when you have to get going, we can just carry on and do the Wheel of Kelsey when you're not here, just so you're not waiting for us for that. Okay, from Simon. I am 18 years into running my business. That's thousands of processes locked in my head. How the heck do I drop every task and procedure into SOPs?
Stop drinking.
Yeah.
Well, sorry. This is he's a regular. I can say that, but.
So how the heck do I drop every task and procedure into SOPs? So firstly, don't do that. Don't even think that you need to do that. You don't need to drop every task and procedure into SOPs. That's the immediate non-starter attitude that I was talking about. And that's going to cause you to get paralyzed, to freeze, and just think this is an impossible project that I'm never going to be able to get off the ground. So most companies, it's kind of like it's like a software term called test coverage. Like most apps that you use don't have 100% test coverage. They just have 50% test coverage, 60% test coverage, which means that they've built test coverage for the most critical parts of the product, but they don't have it for every single part of the product because it's just too inefficient to try to have coverage for all the little edge case things that happen in the business. So at some point, a task is too small that building the process actually is more work than doing the task itself. And that's not actually useful. So it's all about prioritization, right? What is your number one most important process? What is the most important thing in your business? I would start there, especially if I'm focused on growth. And so like we talked about earlier, that's probably something around the money. The other place, if you're focused on lifestyle, might be what's the thing that I hate the most? and like hate doing the most, or that causes me the most pain, and maybe think about that. And I would make sure that like that whole task is off my plate. Like I've built the process, it works. I've trained somebody. This is no longer a thing that I have to do anymore. And once I've completely removed that off my plate, then I'll go look at the next priority. And I wouldn't be thinking about thousands. I'd just be thinking one at a time.
That's a great advice. And yeah, I'm kind of wondering, Marcia Reese, I saw her in the comments section. Wondering if you're using SOPs. If so, how are you using them? Maybe you can answer that in the Facebook group. But Marcia's had over $1 billion in sales. She's an inventor.
That's Marcia.
Yeah, she's fantastic. And Simon too. He's a powerhouse, and I'm sure there's a ton of other people here that have just a ton of sales. But if you are one of those people that are using it, I'd really like to open up a discussion in our Facebook group about this, because I think it's something that we all need to get better at. Maybe Marcia's the best at it. I don't know. But anyways, let's see what we can do in the group. All right, next question.
Also, just sorry, offline, like if you want to send me those details, I could have a couple of people from our team join the Facebook group and maybe answer.
Oh, that would be awesome
as well.
Perfect.
Yeah, I'll send that over. All right, next one from Jessica. Assume one task, say creating a listing, has many components in that listing: copy, photos, layout. How do you organize that one total task for a team to coordinate all the moving parts?
Well, there's this product called Process Street that does that. Yeah, like, that's where things get more complicated, right? Like as a process becomes more complex, like the process of building an iPhone or something, how do you organize that into like a document? It's like, there's like a million people working on that or something. So yeah, as processes get more complex, you start to want to shift them off just pure documentation and into systems, because systems allow you to manage much more complex processes. You could say like, oh, how do I like file my financial report for Citigroup to the SEC or something? Like you're probably not going to have a document that explains that. You're going to have a massive Oracle system that's like running all of that, because it's just insanely complex. So yeah, that's where we'd recommend start using technology. So you've got something, you've got multiple teams. Maybe you've got a designer, maybe you've got a marketer, maybe you've got a manager. You need to approve something. You've got a VA. You've got all these different people, and then you have like 50 products that you're doing at once. So now you need to track all those different products and say, oh, what's the status of this one? What's the status of that one? Like when everything's just written down in a document, there's only so much you can do. And this actually kind of brings me into like what Process Street does. So we kind of talked about that at the beginning. We call it modern process management. And this is like what we see is like the key difference between just like kind of original E-Myth, like process, build your systems, policies, and procedures, to kind of like modern process management, which is integrating technology, right? So Process Street as a product, like firstly, we have a free knowledge-based product. So if you just do want to just document your knowledge, and this is actually a new product. I don't know how much you even know about this, Norm, but like if you do just want to document your policies and procedures and just write them down, we actually give 100% free knowledge base for people to use. But the thing that makes our platform a modern process management platform and not just like a documentation platform, which is, you can do that anywhere and it's not really a valuable thing, which is why we give it away for free, is like we take your team's recurring processes that are probably written down in a doc somewhere, where either in our platform or somewhere else, or maybe they're just in people's heads, and we turn those into interactive workflows. So now the documentation lives in the same place where the work happens. You can add automations, integrations, automate assignments and handoffs between different people in the team, give you analytics and insights and transparency into everything what's going on. So you can really so you can manage these processes in an efficient, distributed, modern way. So we kind of think about it like the difference between like a paper map and GPS. A paper map is like you've just documented the knowledge, right? Like this is like how the territory is structured, but there's no like there's no technology woven into that, and the knowledge is disconnected from the work, where the work is actually happening. You kind of got to go somewhere, read about how to do it, then come over here and then go like implement it. Whereas like with GPS, you've got the knowledge, but that's like integrated into a device that like knows where you currently are and is in real time telling you what needs to happen, giving you visibility into your current place, and predicting what's going to happen next, and giving you kind of like nudges and knowledge about how to kind of complete the task you're trying to complete, which is kind of getting somewhere in that example. And so in Process Street, you can build workflows that are super simple to build. You don't need to be technical or know how to code. We integrate with all the other SaaS products, on Zapier, all your CRMs and emailing tools, and Amazon and Facebook and all that stuff. It lets you kind of like bring all your knowledge into one place and manage it in a much more modern way.
It's super simple too. I don't have an affiliate or anything. I brought Vinay on.
You can make me one.
Oh, there we go. But, I brought Vinny on because I've used the product before. It was a great product. It's extremely simple, step by step. But just check it out. If you want to just go in and try something out, it's a 14-day free trial, and you can just see for yourself. And it's very inexpensive. But the other thing, I'm kind of curious about.
So we have the 14-day free trial of the workflow product.
Yep.
Our knowledge-based product is 100% free. So that doesn't have a trial, and you can use that forever. Yeah.
So I have a question, because I'm thinking back, because we ended up creating teams of SOP developers. So everybody on the team knows how to do it. We kind of did it manually. I'm trying to think back. At the time, are you able to download the process into a PDF and then provide it to a contractor instead of having the contractor log in?
Yeah, you can download the PDF. You can also just create like a share link, like a Dropbox link, and send it to them, so they don't need to log in. They can just view it, or you can actually have them run it so that you can track like what their progress is and get them to, fill in data, upload files, fill out forms, do things like that as well.
Oh, very good. So one other thing. So Jessica, Rosalind, just back to that question that you have. So we also work with, and you were talking about CRMs, but we work with Teamwork. And within Teamwork, they have a template similar to like within your product, you have the ability to have these tasks and subtasks. Well, we do that exactly. So if we have listing optimizations and launch and rank strategies, you might have those two tasks, but under those two tasks, there's 279 subtasks. You could use one, or you can use all 279 when building out a listing, but they're all there that you can pick. And also with that, you've got your task, or you've got your SOP, but you have your template. And we like to put a video there, because some people rather watch a video than kind of go through the SOP, but they're there to back each other up.
Yeah. One good strategy, this is a slightly different one, but one good strategy, if you do have assistants to like build out your SOPs, is actually use both the strategies that I mentioned. So you record a video of you doing the task, then you give the video to a VA, and you have the VA turn that into the process document and embed the video at the top of the document. So now you actually can have somebody who can scan the document and consume it quickly if they're trying to just get some done, or find like, oh, what's that link I need? Or what's that like, what's that one field that I'm supposed to fill out? And they don't have to like consume a whole 30-minute video, but it saves you from having to write the document, because you can just record the video and hand it off to somebody else to make. And yeah, that's a great point. I was going to bring that up too. Not trying to like, obviously trying to promote my own product, but like, there are many different technologies you can use to track people doing work. All the project management apps, Notion, you can use Google Sheets. Like there's lots of different ways that you can turn it into a bit more of like a modern, like interactive way of tracking that work than just it being in a document.
Yeah. So there was another. This is a last tip, because you have to see Wheel of Kelsey. You've never seen it before. But anyways, one of the tips that we provide anybody that's training with us is also, once you get past, like you were talking about, just very briefly, just describe it and then break it in, like add a point, add a checklist. But we break it into a ton of steps. If that cursor moves from bottom left to top right, we capture that, because that's where you're going to lose somebody. And I'll give you a great example. If you tell somebody to log into Seller Central and go and add user permissions, and you show the drop down with a screenshot of the drop down with the user permissions, you might miss the step of log into Seller Central, click settings. Person's lost right off the bat. They don't know what you're talking about. You just assume that they know to hit settings. So trap as many mouse movements or any drop downs. Make sure you put in more steps. The more steps you put in, the less chance people are going to get confused.
Yeah, it's a balance between quality and speed, basically, right? So and it depends on the task that you're doing. Like if, for example, we have like lawyers and we have, people that are working in kind of like dangerous environments, like we have a nuclear power plant, for example, right, as customers. And so for them, they want every single little thing very, very carefully checked, because a single mistake for a lawyer could be tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars in liability, and for a nuclear power plant, So those types of businesses are very much more focused on quality over efficiency. But maybe if like the process is like answering a customer support ticket, like there's probably some type of balance between speed and quality. You maybe don't want people to spend 2 hours on each ticket making sure that they've checked every single thing before they answer that ticket. Like maybe it's okay to have like a 90% quality mark on the ticket, but it be done in 10 minutes instead of like 100% quality mark, but it be done in 2 hours. And so there is some type of balance there, and it depends on the particular process that you want and that you're doing, and how much you care about the quality of that process versus the speed. There's also other things like team happiness, for example. Like if you give to somebody a giant annoying checklist that they have to do every time, and it's not really that important, that actually might maybe make them not enjoy their job that much.
Yeah.
So I try to say, like, you want to have the least amount of steps for you to be able to complete the process at the quality that you want it to be completed at. Because you can definitely kind of get too deep in process, and then it feels like it's quite bureaucratic and micromanaged. And that's kind of like what working in government or something is. They've kind of like gone a little bit overboard on their processes. And then it can be like, oh, I have to fill out like 45 forms to like get a pen, and at some point it's like, okay, this like doesn't make sense anymore. The process is like too heavy here. So I think it's an interesting balance that you want to play with. Yeah.
Well, we only have 44 forms that you have to fill out, not 45. That would be crazy. But okay, so let's get over. Look, Kels, why don't we put the questions into the group, and we'll see if Vinay's team can answer some of those questions later on.
Yeah, totally.
Okay, so let's get to the Wheel of Kelsey.
Okay, we'll make this fast, Vinay. Here we go, the Wheel of Kelsey.
It's time for the Wheel of Kelsey. All
right. Thank you, everyone who entered. If you are the winner of today's show, please email me at k@lunchwithnorm.com.
You did enter us, right?
Oh, is this a new winner?
Who's that?
Surprise.
All right.
Surprise. Congratulations.
Congrats.
So, especially if you're from YouTube, please email me, k@lunchwithnorm.com, so I can connect you. All right.
Okay,
All right.
so that's it. So thank you, Vinay, for coming on. This has been great. I'd love to have you back on to the podcast. Just quickly, contact information if anybody wants to reach out and contact your team.
Yeah, totally. So process.st is our website. You can go, you can sign up for a free account, play around with it there. And then just support@process.st is our team. Also, we have like an intercom chatbot with live chat. We have 24/5 support, I think. So yeah, you can jump on and chat with our team if you have any questions there. And we have YouTube channel and blog with lots and lots of content, hundreds of posts. So pretty easy to find us.
Yeah, and I think when I signed up, there was an email sequence that comes out too that helps describe the process, right? Is that correct?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we're tweaking that right now, so I'm not sure if it's going to be the same, but yeah, definitely.
Okay, very good. I know you got to run. Thanks for staying on board.
Yeah,
You're
of
on
course.
time almost, 3 minutes late.
No, this has been great. Really appreciate it.
All right, we'll see you later.
Awesome. Thanks. Have a good day.
Yeah.
Bye.
Okay, everybody. So I hope you enjoyed that. I'd love to have Vinay back on and, talk about what mistakes people are making, or there's a variety of other questions. So hopefully we can get him on fairly soon. But on Wednesday, we've got Nick Penoff coming on from Hello Tax, and he's an interesting guy. We're going to be talking about expansion to the EU for US e-commerce sellers. So that should be very interesting. I've had in-depth conversations with Nick, a very intelligent guy, and looking forward to having him on. Before we get going, I just wanted to give a big shout out to Global Wired Advisors. And thank you for sponsoring the podcast today. Global Wired Advisors is a leading digital bank focused on optimizing your business sales process. We just talk about processes. For more information, contact Chris and his team over at globalwiredadvisors.com. All right, Mr. Kels, where are you? Oh, before we talk about anything else, so if anybody is going over to on November the 2nd and wants to go to the powwow, Amazon powwow in Miami, let us know. We've got a free ticket to give away. And as of right now, there is a great conference going on, Holiday Growth Hackers Summit. And that's with Josh Marsland and Daryl Hill. Got some great speakers over there. It's from the 18th until the 20th. I'll be speaking at it. And these are long talks. My presentation's 90 minutes to 2 hours long. Oh, that's a lot of talking. That's more than Lunch with Norm. So anyways, check that out. Kelsey will put the link in there, and it is free. So just check it out. I think it'll be just a ton of information for you guys to check out. All right. Now, Kelsey.
All right. I just posted that link too. I made it.
How many times did I say check out, by the way? Just realized I said that 1,000 times. Yeah.
But it's all good. Okay. So yeah, if you're interested in the event Norm is talking about, this is the link here. So you can just click on that. And yeah, hopefully you enjoyed today's show. I know Norm is a bit of a nerd when it comes to SOPs. But it's a cool topic, and I really enjoy these talks because we've had, I think, Pip Harlan to talk about this, and I think Tomer Rabinovich and a couple other guests talk about this topic. So definitely, if you enjoyed today's show, you can go over and check those out as well. And let me see, we do have that. So for the Miami powwow, that giveaway isn't today with that ticket. We'll announce more information maybe on the next podcast. So just tune in for that. Also, we have a special giveaway from Tony Sagar that we're going to be doing that sometime this week. He's offering a special prize to our community.
And thank you to Tony for that. That's cool.
Yeah. So stick around for that. So we got lots happening. And yeah, I think that's about it. If you haven't yet, please smash those like buttons. Get us those thumbs up going, share it out to your friends and family who are interested in Amazon and e-commerce. And yeah, I think that's about it. If you're interested in our membership program, we do have that option available. It's basically Q&A sessions with me and Norm. We have a great community where there's about 15 people in total. And you can do everything from just buying us a monthly cup of coffee to pretty much a weekly group session with us, which is pretty cool. And that includes like guest lessons as well. So
and it's not a podcast.
Yeah. This is actually like you send us your questions and we answer them for you, like right there.
Training. Yeah.
So that's just lunchwithnnorm.com, and you just click on the membership area, and that'll take you there. But that's it.
All right. So thank you for tuning in today, and you can tune in every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at noon Eastern Standard Time. And thanks for watching. Thanks for being part of the community. We couldn't do this podcast without you guys. Well, we could, but we'd just be talking to ourselves. that wouldn't be too interesting. So thank you for being part of the nation, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Lunch with the Moon.